Hello and welcome to Bibles, Biology, and Board Games. This video is about board games. If you are interested in the other two, click on my channel. You'll find videos in both categories, so I do appreciate your traffic. Thank you so much. Some call me Tim, and if you get that reference, I applaud you. It's an older movie, but you'll get it. Today I'm going to share with you my top 10 favorite board games. I've watched a whole bunch of videos about different types of board games and top 10 lists and how this compares with this and this kind of thing. So I realized that there is a ton of material out there. So whatever brought you here, thank you so much. A couple of disclaimers though before I dive into my list is, one, I own all of these games. I've played a number of games where I didn't own the game, but it was a top 10 potential. I played Scythe just the other night. Terra Mystica, Villagers, Lost Legends, Paladins of the West Kingdom, Architects of the West Kingdom, many more that are great games, but I don't own them, or I haven't played them yet, and so I can't judge those yet. Secondly is I asked the question, if I had to take my game list and pair it to 10 games, only keeping 10 of my favorite games, what 10 games would make that list? Well, you're about to find out. Also, or thirdly, I asked another question. I said, is it fun? When I play this game, am I enjoying myself? Am I enjoy rolling the dice, flipping the cards, pushing the blocks, moving the pieces, doing stuff to hurt other people, whatever the game entails? Do I enjoy it? Is it fun? And all of these games are a resounding yes, that I would pick them up at any point and be like, yes, let's play. That doesn't say, or I'm not saying, that the other games in my collection don't answer that question. But these 10 fit those criteria the most. I own them, and they would fit in my, if I only had 10 games list, and they're fun to play. They're a blast. Now, when I originally pulled my games and thought 10 games, I pulled out 15, and I went, nope, this is a top 10 list. Although it could be different, I should have done like a top 12, kind of mix it up. But I do have some honorable mentions here. So, Valeria Card Kingdoms. It's a great game. It's not that difficult. I like the component of building your own engine building with the citizens, and then the different paths, either getting domains or the monsters. Good stuff. Village. Great game. You're killing your people. As time goes by on your little farm, somebody's got to die, and so you have to plan for that, and so that way your elders that are getting you more resources, points, etc., they die at the right time and go into the Village Chronicles. It's a good game. Another classic game, Seven Wonders, as you can see by the box here. It's been beat up. We've pulled this out a few times. It's up to 7 players. It's a great, entry gateway game. Lots of people like it, even if they're not really gamers. Good stuff. Everdell, beautiful game. I love the artwork and the cards where you're building your own kind of area, your tableau, and all the little pieces, but then your little dudes and how you have to, if you prepare for season, you get another guy, and so there's cool stuff there. And the heavyweight of the bunch, Caverna. Agricola did not make my top 10. I enjoy playing it. I enjoy playing this one more. It's just, I need 2 tables to play it because it's just a big game. Honorable mentions. There you go. All right, get that out of the way before that falls over. One more thing I forgot to mention. These games that I'm about to show you are just the base games. A number of them have expansions. I have a number of them. However, in my thinking, I was thinking just the base game. Oftentimes the expansions, they change the player count, which isn't bad. They add to it typically. But sometimes they add and they change the actual core of the game, and so it's like you're playing a different game. And so that's not factored in to this list, just the base game. number 10. Power Grid. 2 to 6 players. 2F Spieler, the Friedman Freeze is the guy. The guy's a genius. He's got a couple other things out. But the idea that you have these power plants, and they cost, but then they use these resources to power up this many of your cities. And so you have to balance. Well, do I buy lots of cities and be in first place? Well, if you do that, you might sacrifice your power plants and not have as efficient a power plant as other people. There's the bidding with the power plants, but I like how the turn order is you go first for the bidding, but then you go in reverse order for the buying the resources for your power plants, and then also buying the houses, spreading out and buying the cities. So that reverse order mitigates, somebody getting out into the lead and being so far you can't ever catch them. So number 10, Power Grid. Number 9, 5 Tribes. Days of Wonder. This is up to 4 players. There's an expansion that adds a 5th player, but the base game is 4. It's a great game. So at the beginning of the game, you have your tiles, and then you draw out 3 meeples. So 2 reds and a green, a green, yellow, and a white, and you stick 3 meeples on each of the tiles. The tiles are also random in how they are set up, and so that is nice because then it's different every time. The setup is nice. These tiles are good thick quality. 15 points in the game, and then there'll be some kind of variable power. But the interesting thing, the game that put this in my top 10, or the mechanic that put this in my top 10, was the idea that you pick up all of the pieces from one tile, and then through Mancala style, you drop them one by one, and the tile that you land on, the last tile of the last person that you have, that's the tile that you then do the action, or the different colored meeple would go. So it's a good game. It's a lightweight. It's not super heavy. It's one step above a gateway game. 5 Tribes. All right, pulling in at number 8. I was going to say 7. How about 8? Is Viticulture. Now I know that there are a number of people or lists that I've watched, that this is at the top 1 or 2 as far as worker placement. I agree. It's a great game. It's 2 to 6 players. No, it's 1 to 6. There's an automated version by Stonemaier Games. There's another Stonemaier game on this list that also has that solo play built in, able to do that. This is the Essential Edition, which actually has a couple of extras from some of the expansions. So if you have the first edition, then it would be slightly different. But anyway, this prevented, or I didn't have to buy any expansions because everything was in here. Fantastic game. The idea that you can choose when you want to wake up. You can wake up early, thereby getting better opportunity to go to the spots that you want. Or if maybe you don't care, or what you're doing at that moment isn't urgent, you wake up later, get some kind of benefit, a coin, maybe a victory point, maybe an extra card, and so you kind of sacrifice to get that little bonus and not being able to play first. It's another interesting thing. It has the 2 seasons. Spring is when you're waking up. You set that turn order. Then you have the summer, and you have half the board is yellow, summer color, and you can place workers. And then you have the fall, which is with cards and visitors come to your thing. And then you have winter, which is the blue spots. So if you have 3 workers, you can only put 3 workers out for the whole year. So if there's stuff you want to do in winter, you can't do everything you want in the summertime, or vice versa. So you have to plan that strategy. But you're planting grapes, you're harvesting grapes, you're bringing those grapes into your cellar, and then at some point you can convert them to wine to fulfill a wine order to get victory points, hopefully to win. Viticulture. It's got cool little pieces too. Like, let me just show you real quick. All the 6 colors, they're nice, vibrant colors. I'm sorry, I should have thought of this earlier, but I know you probably can't even tell from there, but it's just got really cool. So you've got one of your little workers, but then you have this is a trellis, I believe. Probably can't even see that. See, little trellis, and so all the colors have all of these colors that are there, and so it is good stuff. Okay. Power Grid, 5 tribes. Viticulture, Orleans. All right. The game is not in French, which is good. This is... How do I describe this game? Well, there's multiple paths to getting points, to gaining, to have the victory. So that's nice, because there's no game that's going to be the same. But they have this mechanic here that you have your little bag, and you start the game with 4 tokens. You draw out 4 tokens, and then those are your workers that you can place and do different things. So throughout the game, you're gaining more. So you might have 10 little round people in your bag, but you can only draw 6. So you never know for sure which ones you're going to get, and that's nice because it has to it makes you adapt. It makes you think, all right, I have this strategy. This is plan A, but I do need a plan B and a plan C just in case I don't draw what I need. And so it's not a... Well, Power Grid is, but none of these games yet are really like, stick it to you, I'm doing this so that you're going to get hindered or you're going to get hurt. Power Grid, you can build a city and kind of slow somebody down. But none of these games yet are really spiteful at this point. So we got Orleans. The artwork I like too. It's a little bit cartoony, but it's really cool. Number 5. How about number 6? Power Grid, 5 tribes, Viticulture, Orleans. Number 6. I like history, and so games or books, as you can tell, I like to read as well. If they have a historical element, sometimes it's a true history thing, that then the story becomes a fiction story. But in this case, we have the Manhattan Project, which, as you may or may not know, was the name of the project that the Americans used when they were building the atomic bomb in World War II. The Manhattan Project. So this game, I love it because it sticks to the theme. It's super fun. But one of the cool things I like about this is the little dudes. They're kind of a thicker cardboard. And so you have a little scientist right here, cool little guy. Then you have a little plain guy. He can be kind of a wild cardish. And then you have an engineer with his hard hat. So on the main player board, there's a number of spots, and so some spots called just for engineers. Some have a combination where you need a scientist and also a plane worker. Some have multiple workers. And so you go, and on your turn you'll place a guy here, whatever. And then the next person will go, and at some point you're out of your dudes. You have to retrieve. So that turn you're really not gaining anything. You're bringing all of your workers back home, and then you're able to start again. Each player has their own board where, as you'll build buildings, because you need to get plutonium, get uranium to test these bombs, these nuclear bombs that you're building. So you need different buildings to train more workers. You need buildings to get the yellow cake, and you need buildings to get money. There's fighters and bombers, which are directly in relation to the other players. If they want to bomb your thing, it puts your building out of commission. So you need fighters to protect from their bombers. And so it's just a really fun game. And again, I like the theme. Manhattan, 5 players, 2 to 5, and that is by Minion Games. Orleans was a 4-player game. Sorry, I didn't mention that. It's 2 to 4 from DLP Games. All right. I did mention before that Stonemaier Games, the Viticulture, they had another game. Well, coming in at number 5 then is Wingspan. That's the other Stonemaier game. This is also 1 to 5, again with that single player automatic. You're playing against the cards. Wingspan is fun because you have your board, and your board has a forest, it has a prairie, and wetlands. And so some of the birds are only can go in the forest. Some of them can only go in wherever they go. So you have these bird cards, and so you've got the northern mockingbird, the American crow, you've got a grasshopper sparrow, you've got a wood stork, an eastern bluebird. So all of these birds, there's 180 or whatever cards, and they're all unique, so you don't have any duplicates. And so what happens is you have to pay a food cost. Now this one can go in all 3 habitats. You have to pay two foods. But every bird has a nest type. Every bird has a limit to the number of eggs it can have. Every bird will give you points. So you're putting these birds on your board. You're gaining food. You're gaining eggs to eggs to put on them, and then they have this. A lot of them that have this brown stripe that can get activated multiple times throughout the game. So at the beginning of the game, you have 8 actions. 8 action cubes to take 8 actions. The next round you only have 7. The third round 6, and then the final round, the 4th round, you only have 5 actions. But again, you might have multiple cards that have this brown stripe that can activate. It's a lot of fun because you feel like you're building your own bird sanctuary, and so it's really cool. All the artwork and everything is cool. It has this little birdhouse. You put the dice in the back, and the dice are represent the food. And so the components are great. The artwork is great. It's just a lot of fun because you've got these birds and so yes, that is Wingspan. That's the newest one in my list. Wingspan. All right, we doing okay? Number 4. This one I almost put it like 2 or 3, but the other games anyway. Classic Worker Placement by Z-Man Games. Got Stone Age. I think 2008 is when this came out, or something, or 2009, or whatever. This is not this particular copy. This is a newer, but this game has been around for a long time as far as board games. This is up to 4 players, so 2 to 4 players. It is fun. It says it takes 60 to 90 minutes. If you've got experienced players, you're 45 minutes if if everybody knows what they're doing. So it moves along fairly well. But again, do you grow your family? So you start with 5 clan members, you can get up to 10. So, do you have lots of babies? Do you move up on the agricultural track? Do you get tools? Do you go for the buildings? Do you try to get the cards that have the different sets in them? So there's all these multiple ways. I like how the player interaction is indirect. So if I'm taking my action and I'm putting 7 guys in the forest because I need to hopefully get some lumber resources, that's not a direct conflict move against another player. What that does, though, that now there's only 7 spots, so I've taken all of the 4 spots for that turn. They can't do the forest. They have to go to a more expensive resource. So it's that indirect passive-aggressive, which I guess that fits my personality. But it's a great game. This is one that I go to if people want to learn, hey, what's kind of another level? I'm done with Ticket to Ride. I'm done with Settlers of Catan. What's kind of another step up? This is my go-to game to teach because it's just fun. It's fairly easy. It's good. Number 3. First time I played this, I was like, dude, this is for sure in my top 5. Raiders of the North Sea. And don't be fooled. The box is considerably smaller than Stone Age, as you can see, but chock full. It's a worker placement. As you can see, I like worker placement because a lot of these games are that way. But the thing is, you don't have all your workers at the beginning. You can't get more throughout the game. You start with 1. 1 lonely Viking. You take him, you put him on an action spot, you do that action. It might be getting more cards. It might be hiring a crew member. Maybe it's the silversmith. You're just going to get some cash. Okay, so you leave that guy there. Then you take a Viking from a different location, take him back, put him on your board, so he's your one for the next turn, and then you do that action. So you place a worker, do an action, pull a worker, do an action. And then when you've hired enough crew and you've gathered your provisions and you've got everything you need, then you can start going out and raiding the outposts, the trading places, the monasteries, the fortresses, and start raiding those things. It's a really fun game. You can build up your armor to help you with your military strength. You can die valiantly and become a Valkyrie and move up on the Valkyrie track. And where you are on those tracks can give you extra points in the victory point track around the end. So really, this is a really cool game. I like the artwork too. Like, dude, like, who wouldn't want a Viking like that in their ship, on their crew? You know what I'm talking about? Exactly. Raiders of the North Sea. That's up the 4 players from Garphill Games. Stone Age was 4 players. I think I mentioned that. All right. Well, my 1 and 2 really could be 2 and 1. 1 and 2. I don't know. Went with Ryan Lockett's Above and Below, up to 4 players. This is a fun game. It's not the most complicated game. It's there's some meat to it. You've got some different things because you want to build buildings, and some of them have end game scoring, so you got to think ahead a little bit. But you have your workers, your 3 little village people, and they need beds to rest. And so if you get another villager, then you want to get another bed so they can rest as well. Otherwise, you're only resting 3, and it slows you down. But the cool thing about this game is the dungeon or the cavern exploration. So you pull out a card, and it has dice shown on it, and you roll the die to tell you what adventure you're taking. So then you go and you go through here, and as you can see, has all these. So you're going to read the paragraph, and then you're going to give the player options. Are you going to help the fish folk, or are you going to keep exploring? And it gives you your options, and so the player has to decide. Wow, do I do this or do I do this? And then depending on what happens, they roll their dice on their villagers to see what level they can attain if they were successful in what they chose to do. All right. So it's about half of the game is this exploration, choosing your own adventure. It's really fun, and it's fun to just everybody kind of takes turns at different things. There's all kinds of resources. I like the artwork. So this building would be built in a cavern that you have, and it's a fun game. It's just really enjoyable to play. It's a light to medium weight strategy. So again, it's not that difficult. It's just a lot of fun. All right, I do have one more because it's a top 10 list. So remember, we had Power Grid, 5 Tribes, Viticulture, the Essential Edition, Orleans, Manhattan Project. And then the top 5, Wingspan, Stone Age, Raiders of the North Sea, Above and Below, and, take your guess. Any guesses? Oh, wait. You're watching. Never mind. This game is... Now that I think about it, it makes sense to be at the number 1 spot. I don't recall when I got this game, or why I did, because I think it would have scared me early on in my gaming career. But coming in at number 1, 2 to 4 players, is Dungeon Lords. Czech Games. Okay? Z-Man as well. This game is... Now, it's not for the weak of heart. I mean, the rule book is, well, it's substantial. Okay? But the components are really cool. Plus, you've got these little tiny, these imps. See them right there? See how cool they are, little plastic guys? Those are going to be your workers. They're going to get you food. They're going is the start player. And so you go through, but what happens is, dungeon lords, you are the lord of a dungeon. So don't think I'm an adventurer, I'm a buff guy, I'm going to go out and beat the monsters and get the treasure and save the woman, all this stuff. It's backwards or opposite. You are in charge of your own dungeon. Each player has their own dungeon. You start with a couple of tunnels in the center. All right. So then those little imps, you can build tunnels. Then those tunnels can be converted to rooms. You can mine gold in those tunnels. The rooms would be places where you could set traps, put monsters, because eventually the adventurers are going to come and attack your dungeon. You've got thieves and healers and warriors and mages. They come and they're trying to attack, and they've got different skill points, and so you're setting your dungeon up the best you can so that you can prevent them from conquering your dungeon. And so it is kind of a brain burner because there's a lot of stuff going on in this game. Another little mechanic that I like is you have these action cards, and all players have the same. I think there's 8 of them. So you look at all 8 of them, you choose 3, and you put them face down. Then in player order, you flip up the first one and put one of your minions on that action space, on the central board, and then they go. So you go around, and then you fulfill these things. Well, let's say you want to mine gold in your tunnels. Well, the first space, you're going to get 1 gold per imp that you put in there. But if you happen to get the second space, you're going to get 2 gold per imp, or whatever it is. So some of the spots are better. So it's better to not be the first player out there on some of these things. In fact, if you're hiring a monster, you want to be in the 3rd spot, because that goes in reverse order. You'd be the first one. There's like 4 monsters out there, and you get to choose which one you want to buy. You pay its food cost, and you put it in your little thing. Because then, when the adventurers attack, you've got your monsters, your traps, and you set up your dungeon as difficult as you can so that the adventurers don't actually succeed. Again, Dungeon Lords, it's a fantastic game. It works best with 4. The 2 and 3 player variant it's automated, but you got those extra things you got to do. So if you're going to play this, I'd say play with 4. Give yourself a couple hours because it takes a while to get through this. But for me, it's worth it. This game is it's fun. It's so fun to play. All of these games are fun to play. That's why I chose them, because they answer that question. Is this game fun? Is this game enjoyable? Yes. Yes, they are. And so, with that, I guess I can conclude, because I am done with my list. And so, again, this was the top 10 games that are my favorite games that I own. I am planning on making some other videos. Best games to teach a new gamer. What are my categories for gaming? Family games, party games, strategy games, gateway games, those kinds of things. So just kind of keep your eye out. You might be interested again in some of these things. So, with that, thank you for taking out about a half hour of your time, and I hope that this spurs you on to greater and better gaming in your near future, whether it be at home with friends or at your local game store or wherever you can play. So just get out, get those games to the table, and just grab a beverage and enjoy playing some games. So if this list helped, glad I could do it. Signing off. Again, this is Tim. Thank you so much. Goodbye.